Okay, here we go. Another edition of the Bird Brains. My partner Mark Eckel and I, Ken Dunek, we're going to break it down for you. We're going to break down a nail-biting, heart-pounding, frenetic, sweat on the brow. Mark, you can throw in a metaphor anytime you like, but it was a fantastic finish. But in the end, the Eagles got a little bit lucky. But a win is a win, and we're 8-1, and we're going to dissect a great football game from an entertainment value to watch against the Dallas Cowboys. Mark, really entertaining, right? I mean, it was fun. It was a fun football game. And Dak Prescott, I got to tell you something. Dak Prescott might have played the best game I've ever seen him play. He was spot on except for that final drive. And, of course, Jalen Hurts is just as tough as they get. But your initial thoughts before I talk about our sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games where you build it up, right? This is Eagles and Cowboys, and you're hoping it's going to be like that. And as you know, sometimes the games that get built up to be great games sometimes fall flat. This one didn't. It had a little bit of everything. It had great drives. It had good defense. It had a little, like you said, toughness. Both quarterbacks played very well. Some lapses on defense from both teams a little bit here and there. But give the quarterbacks credit there. But just a great game. I think they're the two best teams in the NFC. I know San Francisco beat Dallas pretty bad. I think that was one of those things. San Fran, I think people are figuring out Brock Purdy a little bit. Yeah. I think these two teams they're going to meet again in Dallas in a couple of weeks. They might meet again in Philly in the playoffs too.
Yeah, and Frisco's lost 3 in a row, but we'll talk about that. I do want to mention our sponsor, Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine. Mark, we had our big Unmasking the Legacy Gala last week at Ballroom at the Bend. It was phenomenal. 425 people showed up. We gave $18,000 away to 6 deserving charities. Our honorees were fantastic, and everybody had a good time. If you'd like to get an invite to one of these private Jersey Man, Philly Man Magazine events, please contact me, Ken at jerseymanmagazine.com. You'll be our guest. We have a huge holiday party coming up on December 14th. I won't tell you the venue until I hear from you, but it's something that you might want to check out. So go to jerseymanmagazine.com or email me, Ken at jerseymanmagazine.com for more information. So I mentioned all the metaphors about nervousness, and it was really an incredible ending. My one saving grace, as Dallas got down to about the 5-yard line, was, and my buddy my daughter Ashley, her friends sang, we're over, my daughter Taylor, we have a big Sunday thing. We all gather around to watch the Eagles. And Sang said to me, he goes, you know, they got first and goal on the 5 or 6. He goes, but Dak Prescott's going to find a way to screw this up. And I'm like rolling my eyes. Is it really? They got first and goal. They got plenty of time. And he did. I mean, it wasn't necessarily his fault. He got sacked a couple times. You can't take a sack there. So maybe it is his fault. You see that rush coming, you got to get rid of it. But
the Eagles' defensive line stepped up. To me, that's what won the game.
At the very end, they did.
Defensive line stepped up.
By the way, Brandon Graham with maybe the play of the game, right? Where you don't see him on the field that much anymore. What do you think got him in the rotation that late in the game? I found that interesting.
Maybe you want your guys out. You don't want to play Brandon Graham too much. Let's be honest. He's not the guy he was when they won the Super Bowl, 6 years ago now. He's getting up there in age, right? I mean, Brandon Graham is so old, I covered him. That's how I look at it, right? I mean, I remember when, that's one of the few guys that I still cover.
By the way, one of the nicest guys that ever put out a football uniform. Yeah. I saw him at the Otho Davis dinner last week, and he's just as friendly as can be.
Nice, great guy. Yeah. But he's getting up there, so you want to use him the right way. You don't want him out there getting worn down in the second quarter. So maybe that's the plan, is to save him. The last drive, big play. Dallas is going to throw the ball. They're not running with no timeouts. So you have him out there when it's obvious passing downs, and he came up with hey, listen, I've said this for 40 years now, covering football. Big time players make big time plays.
At the right times.
Yes. Yeah. Brandon Graham's a big time guy. He's not the guy he was. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to go get you 12 sacks.
Hey, by the way, coming off a torn Achilles. Exactly, really.
Well, actually last year he had a pretty good year, but
he did.
Time is catching up. But again,
that's a tough injury.
In his role now, that's a good guy to have in that role, because you have, Reddick and Sweat are younger, and
Hey,
they're
let's talk
players.
about Sweat a little bit. This
That's a good player.
guy, he comes up clutch a lot. I mean, he's having a great year. You know,
Hmm.
it was funny. He goes into his little antics after that drive, and he's, giving the power sign and doing the Sweat thing, and they're telling him, "Hey, get back on the field, man. These guys are going to run another play." But that was a big time sack. So the Eagles' defense did come up big.
Fine.
I want to talk about two areas of real concern for me. And the first one is, let's stay on defense for the time being. We don't cover. Okay, we don't cover. Now it's a product of we're nicked up in the defensive backfield. Because of that, he wants to go 2 and 3 deep zone coverage. We don't. Our linebackers are not great cover people underneath, and we don't get enough pressure on the quarterback early in the game with just rushing four. Now, we did blitz down the stretch that I noticed that helped get heat on the quarterback. But again, it's the same thing as Gannon was doing last year. If you just want to sit back in that shell zone and leave the middle of the field wide open, a good quarterback's going to pick you apart. I thought that Desai was a little bit more aggressive early in the year. He went back to this pattern last week, and it hurt him because, as we said, Dak Prescott threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary, it is what it is. I mean, I don't. They went out and got the safety from Tennessee, Baird, who
Yeah,
again, he's not what he was, and it's going to take him time to get. It's a totally different system than he's played in Tennessee his whole career, so he's played that system. I'm not sure what the type of play. I don't see them enough, but yeah, I'm guessing the Eagles play a different type system. He kind of got beat a couple times in the game, made a couple mistakes. Um,
Bradbury
Bradbury's
continues to get
not,
beat. A huge
he's
pass
have a good,
interference that gave Dallas,
good call
a
too.
chance to win. I mean, I thought Slay played pretty well, but Ricks, Brown, Blankenship, Ringo, you've got a lot of guys in there mixing it up at different positions, and
They missed
it just
Maddox.
wasn't working.
The one guy that they really missed, I think, is Maddox, who's out. I guess he's out
Well,
for a
he's
year.
done for the year. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a bad loss. And again, hindsight and all that, but and I can't think of his name. The guy with the three names, the safety they
uh,
had last year that went that's
Gardner.
Gardner Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gardner Johnson.
they missed him a little bit. He made some plays for him last year.
Hmm.
Oh, and they let him go as a free agent. Well, they had a choice, I guess. They let him go and kept Bradbury, which was
Yeah,
at the time looked like the right thing. Keep the corner, and you can get it. Now, I think Brown's going to be a good safety, but he's a rookie.
yeah.
It's going to take him time. But yeah, that's the Achilles heel of the defense right now is obviously their pass defense. But again, when they can get that pressure, it makes that secondary look a lot better.
No question. And let's talk about offensively challenging in the running game. Our running backs just can't find a hole to run the football. Now, Gainwell did start out the game. It was a little bit of retribution. He had a tough week last week explaining why he's tweeting at halftime and fumbling on the goal line. But he had a nice 12-yard touchdown run to start the game. But I just noticed that, DeAndre Swift, 19 carries, 43 yards. I mean, that's only, 2.1, 2.2 yards a carry.
I
I
mean,
mean, that's not going to get done. The Eagles wound up rushing for over 100 yards. But again, when you factor in Hurts in that scenario, he ran for 36. And Rashad Penny, only 2 carries, 8 yards. Our favorite guy, Boston Scott, was out for personal reasons, and I tried to find something out, and I couldn't do it. Did you hear anything on that at
no,
all?
that's strange. And the
Yeah,
Eagles, yeah, personal reasons.
yeah. I always
That always
cringe when I
scares
hear
me.
those personal
Yeah,
reasons.
that's always leads me to think there's something bad happening.
Yeah, but I mean, the
Again,
Eagles, the Eagles running game overall, that's a product of the offensive line, and these running backs just don't have a place to run right now.
well, part of it again, the Cowboys get paid to play this game too, right?
Oh yeah,
They're not guys that they pull off the street and said, "Hey,
that's what
hey, go
that's
play."
what I used to say in the film room when I got beat. Hey, they get paid too, and then the coach would come down on me. So that wasn't a
Probably
good
more than you
wasn't
too,
wasn't
right?
a good
But
argument. Yeah,
I'm
well,
not,
definitely.
you know. So I mean, listen, yeah, the Eagles didn't run the ball well against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys got a pretty good front. I mean, let's give them some credit there. That I don't think it was that the Eagles, it wasn't all their fault. Let's put it that way. I mean, um, but they won. Listen, everything's not going to be perfect every week, and they found a way to
And it
win.
certainly is not. But it's good enough to be 8-1, and as we said, that's really all that matters. Let's talk about,
And they kind of they have a pretty comfortable lead now in the division.
they do. I mean, Dallas is in second place at 5-3, and they've got a difficult schedule. Let's talk about Jalen a little bit. Obviously, fighting that knee, he got it. He got it bumped in the game. Is such a tough kid. Doesn't even miss a down. Okay, he can
That's
barely
amazing.
walk off the field. Doesn't miss a down. Comes back in the second half, and he's throwing dimes. That touchdown he threw to Devontae Smith was an absolute rope. AJ Brown. Tough game for AJ, right? 7 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Any other receiver would be thrilled with that, but his numbers were a little bit down. And then, Smith, 3 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. We got to talk about, the tight end, Dallas Goedert, 3 catches, 50 yards, fractures his forearm. And now they're expecting surgery, and it's going to be out for a minimum of 4 weeks. That's going to leave us a hole at tight end. But overall, what did you think of the offensive performance and the receivers?
I thought that. Well, I mean, Brown. You know what I think of AJ Brown, and I like Smith a lot too. Um, I mean, I tell you what. Getting back to the Hurts thing, I mean, I think there were a lot of breath being held
Oh, then no
throughout
question.
throughout the area when. I mean, it didn't look good. That did not look for him not to miss a play. I'm amazed because when it first happened, I said, "Oh God,
Yeah.
it looks bad."
And you know how
And you
tough
knew
he
he
is,
had
and
the
it
knee
took
to
him a
begin
while
with.
to get up, right?
Yeah,
So he was hurt.
you knew going in he had the knee. There was issues with the knee, and then it looked like, oh, now this is it. He had it. Now they hit him on the knee. No, it was a clean play. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they brought him down. It was a sack. But I'm thinking, he's done. He's done. I'm thinking he might be done
Yeah.
for.
Oh,
And then, like you said, he comes back in the next play.
you're not ready for the Marcus Mariota for the
I,
Eagles, are you?
but he was warming up.
I know he was,
Warming up.
but
So let's
listen,
not bad for him.
I saw him in camp. It's not good. It's not good. I know he's got some experience at the position, but Jalen comes back. He plays well, and now we've got the bye week, so he's going to get a chance to rest that leg. Which the bye week's coming at the perfect time.
Perfect time for him and for Goddard. Like you said, he's going to miss maybe if he misses 4 weeks. Well, he's only missing 3 games
Yeah,
because of the bye, so that'll help a little bit. I get from hearing Sirianni talk this week. He was asked about the tight end. Now they have the kid, Calcutta, is that his name? Calcutta.
Calvecchia or Calvetta, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's coming back.
You know who else is on the Giants practice squad? He's on the Eagles last year? I believe it was Tyree Jackson. I think.
I don't know if they'll go out and get. They might, but he made it sound like
Well, practice squad guys are fair game
sure,
too. I mean, you can just reach in and get them.
and then you got to keep him on your roster for a month or so. But it sounded from what Sirianni said when he was asked what they're going to do at tight end. He said, "Well, we have these guys." He mentioned the kid they got from Denver, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, Alberto. His name's like this long, but they have options. But he made it sound like there's other ways. So I don't think we're going to see the Eagles using a lot of 2 tight ends like they sometimes do,
No.
and they may go 4 wide a lot. I think the way he made it sound like we have other options on the roster.
What about Stoll? Is he still on the roster?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who's going to probably start.
Yeah, he played a fair amount last year.
But I could see more snaps for Julio Jones. I could see them going more, maybe 2 back for. There's ways of getting around it. Now, listen, Goddard's a good player, and anytime you lose a good player, it's not a good thing. But I think they'll be okay. I think they'll work around that now.
Let's talk about another area of concern: penalties. The Eagles had 10 penalties for 98 yards, and a couple in crucial situations. Hassan Reddick, who we both love, we talk about him ad nauseum on this podcast, had really had a silly roughing the passer call late in the game that almost hurt it. And Bayard had a really silly, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And you would think a veteran that's been around as long as he had would be a little bit more disciplined than that. But 10 penalties for 98 yards, just yeah. And the Cowboys had a lot of penalties too. I think they had 10 for 83 yards. But
I watched a few games last week, and listen, sometimes I think these refs just want to throw. I think, especially when it's a national, I think they want to be on TV.
Well, listen, the Reddick thing, is it? Yes. Do you call that there? It's kind of like, that play at the end of the Super Bowl last year. Technically, was it whole? Yes, I guess it was. Do you call it there to decide the world championship of football? I don't think you do. At some point, common sense has to take over. They got 1 million guys in the booth and 1 million guys in New York. Somebody press the button and say, hey, guys, listen, that's the wrong call at this time. Why don't we pick up the flag? They have the communication skills. They can do it. But you're right. I think sometimes the referees just want to be involved in the game, and that's a bad thing.
I agree. I mean, it just every game. It's almost like the refs got together, and I know they do. They have their meetings and stuff too, and there's we need to throw more flags. Because every game, I might look this up for next week. I think penalties are at an all-time high this year.
Seems to be.
Every game, like 10 penalties, which is it seems like wow, the Eagles had 10 penalties. Yeah. It's almost the norm now.
Yeah.
8, 10 penalties is almost like that's what teams get.
Yeah, and I get it. Listen, if it's an obvious foul, you got to call it. But
don't get me wrong. Like the one on Baird, that was or the pass interference against Bradbury at the end. That you have to call. He did interfere with it. But some of these other ones, I don't know what roughing the quarterback is anymore. I mean,
you can't hit him high, you can't hit him low, and you can't hit him hard.
You can't hit him a second after.
Yeah.
Basically, just don't hit him. Just let him do what he wants.
If he slides, you can't hit him. I mean, it's confusing to me, and I get it. They're trying to protect their big asset, but at some point it becomes comical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've like again, not just Eagle games, other games where the edge rusher or the defensive lineman, he's coming full speed. He's trying to get a sack. He's trying to make a play. You can't stop that. You can't put the brakes on.
You really can. And a lot of times the offensive player may duck down or change the level which is going to affect the hit, and the guy is already in the air. It's a very difficult thing. And some of these guys are getting fined for this. Now, I get it. They're making a lot of money. I think the NFL minimum salary is about $720,000, but 10,000 is 10,000, man. I mean, it's
not really. Now listen, I'm not saying turn the clock back to when the Raiders used to try to hurt people.
No, let's not do that.
The old close,
the old Jack Tatum over the middle.
Yeah, I'm not saying go back to that because listen, I'm concerned with the safety, not just of the player today, but your future. I know players, God rest his soul, Andre Waters, and players that suffered from CTE and things.
Wes Hopkins.
Yes, I mean there's so many guys that have had serious, injuries after the game. So I'm all about safety, but let's let them play football a little bit. Let's not go to flag football yet.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the play calling at the end of the game for the Eagles. We're in the fourth quarter. I believe it's our second to last drive. We're on our side of the 50. I think we're about our 30, 35-yard line. We got 3rd and 3. There's about 3 or 4 minutes left on the clock. We need a first down. We throw it deep, a fade down the sideline on 3rd and 3. Now, listen, you've got the greatest single weapon that I have seen in the history of me watching college and pro football, and that's the tush push, right? It's unstoppable. The only way it was stopped, Hurts fumbled last week. To me, there's no question on 3rd and 3, you run the ball, get 1 to 3 yards, hopefully a first down. If not, you can almost seal the game with that tush push. Instead, they try to be the smartest guy in the room and throw the fade to Smith. Listen, it's a gutsy call. It doesn't work. But I think if you have a weapon like this tush push, why would you do anything else? That baffled me.
It baffled me too because I thought for sure I was thinking the same way you were, because Sirianni kind of said it a week ago or 2 weeks, whenever after when they used the tush push so successfully that hey, we look at it like we have an extra down almost. Like when it's second, like he can make calls differently than other offenses because he has that.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, 3rd and 3. I'm not looking to go deep. I'm looking like you said. I would have ran the ball, and first of all, you may have gotten the first down.
exactly.
And if you
Now,
don't, like you said, if you get as long as you don't lose yards or gain at least a yard and a half or so, then you're you're letting. Although maybe did Hurts' knee was that a factor? Maybe
I don't. I mean, they did it earlier in the game.
that was before he got
I don't
hurt.
know. I mean, I guess that's
That was my only
possible.
second thought. That was my second thought was
Yeah,
maybe they don't want to use maybe that because I don't we don't
to
this
lock up the game. I mean,
I know, but you don't
yeah.
want I don't want to lose Hurts for
No.
a month.
Well, all right. Well, let's talk about the last series. 3rd and 8. Okay, now I get it. We're trying to run the ball to make Dallas use their timeouts, but it's 3rd and 8. Okay, a first down seals the win. We botch a handoff. We were very lucky to get the ball back, and I'm going to talk about some luck that went the Eagles' way at the end of the game.
I don't know how the
But
Dallas.
I
I
mean,
don't know how the Cowboys
third and
beat
eight.
them.
You take to me, you take a shot there. It's only going to cost you one timeout. Dallas is going to have plenty of time anyway to go down the field. Why wouldn't you want to sew up the game with 3rd and 8 and take a shot to AJ Brown, your best receiver? That was almost a disastrous play for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the Cowboys didn't recover that.
Listen,
I thought Parsons was on it.
we were we were so lucky.
He made a great Steen.
Steen, yeah, the
He
backup
doesn't do
for
anything
Okada.
else the rest of the year. He made his name. He earned his money, and that with that
How
recovery.
about the Brandon Graham face on the sideline? Do you see the close up of his
Yes.
face? That was a classic. But again, the Eagles get lucky there and they pull out a win. Now, let's talk about two things that went the Eagles' way. You talk about a game of inches. They had a touchdown in the fourth quarter negated. The guy, the tight ends, Dallas's tight end, I forget, was it Flanagan or I forget. His knee is down and the ball is a fraction before the goal line. Now, in the old days, that's a touchdown, no questions asked. They look at it with the microscope, and it's a good call. I didn't think so at the time, but as you looked at it from that goal line camera, it was short, and the Eagles catch a break there. And then on the 2-point play after Dallas scores the next touchdown, Dak runs it in, reaches the ball over the goal line, but he steps out of bounds at the 2. You know, those 2 points were huge there too because Dallas can kick a field goal to tie up the game if that's good. So, sometimes better to be lucky than good, and the Eagles, fortunately, were both.
But a lucky, I'm going to give the credit. I mean, on the non-touchdown. Now, again, I'm with you. Naked eye, real time. I said touchdown, but then when you looked at it again, he was there. He got a half, and so give the defender a little bit of credit there for keeping him out of the end.
Yeah, it was Blankenship. He had to make a nice play. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, most safeties don't. I mean, that was a hell of a play by Blankenship.
Well, he's a hard hitter. The kid, he can lay the lumber. That kid.
Oh, and Dak's, I think Dak wears size 12 shoes. If he wore size 11, I mean, it's 2 points. That wasn't. I'm not going to give the Eagles a lot of credit on that one. I mean, I guess Graham was chasing him, but like you said, that was a couple inches.
It was a good play call, good play design. It just didn't work out for him. And then
for replay, right?
One other issue. Derek Barnett, healthy scratch for the game. That's former Eagles #1 draft choice. I think they're sending a message there that they want more out of him, or are they just giving up on him?
Well, I was told that they were trying to trade him during the trade deadline and couldn't get a decent, anything worthwhile back for him. So I think he's played his way out of the mix. Talk about a guy that takes bad penalties.
Oh yeah,
he's the king of the bad penalties.
Exactly.
I think they've tired of him doing that, and they're pretty deep at defensive line, so they probably had to dress extra defensive backs, like you said, because they're so thin back there. They had to add more bodies back there. So Barnett's the odd man out right now.
So listen, we got the bye week, and we're going to do something that I've done exceedingly well my whole life is take the week off, and so the Eagles are going to take the week off. We're going to take the week off. We'll be back in the following week. We're at Kansas City. So you talk about an eye opener coming off the bye
This
week.
is the stretch. This is the stretch coming up that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Kansas City, San Francisco, Buffalo, San Francisco,
Yeah,
Dallas, and Seattle, right?
There's a lot of big name teams coming up. I'll pull this up real quick. We're at Kansas City, home against Buffalo, home against the 49ers, at Dallas, at Seattle. All right, so you talk about 5 weeks that are going to be
That's 5 playoff teams. All 5 of those teams are playoff caliber teams. And a lot of them, here's the thing too now. You could tell me, well, San Fran's not playing that well, and they're not. They've lost 3 in a row. But they need that now. Now that's almost they need that win. Buffalo, they need that win. Both of those teams have fallen out of first place.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Buffalo might be working their way out of playoff contention, which is hard to believe. But
you're playing teams that not only are good teams, but teams that are desperate for a win. So these next 5 games are going to tell you a whole lot about the Eagles. And listen, the Eagles are going to win the division, I think, now. But that's not what the goal is.
Well, again, they only have a 2-game lead, and they're playing some tough teams. Yes, I get it. But I mean, we listen. We can't. I like where we're at, but we got a lot of work to do. And Mark, the half hour always goes by quickly, as I say every week. For Mark Eckel, this is Ken Dunek. Enjoy the bye week, everybody. Take a breather, take a rest after that exciting finish, and we'll talk to you a couple weeks from now on the Bird Brains. Have a good day, everybody. Take care.